Hi, I'm Lucia. I write a Bad Witches blog and I've written some titles for Moon Books. Now, today I'm going to be talking about the colours of magic, not the colour of magic, which is a wonderful idea in the Terry Pratchett books, and it's called Octarine, and it's a magical mixture of purple and orange and green and yellow and can only be seen by wizards and cats. And it's a great idea. In the real world, we're stuck with the colours of the rainbow, which sadly don't include Octarine. But we can use all the colours of the rainbow to make our spells more effective. Now, I'm probably going to be primarily talking about candle magic because that is a type of magic that many of us use. Many witches do like to use candles in our rituals and spells. But colour magic can also be quite useful for poppets too. You can make a poppet in the right kind of colour to boost the way your spell's going to work. Now, starting with candle magic, there is never anything wrong with using a white candle. A lot of us will have plain white tea lights around the house, and if we haven't got what we would consider to be the perfect colour spell, the perfect colour candle, we can always use a white candle. Partly that's being practical, use what you've got. If you need to do a spell, just use what you've got. But also the colour white, technically, white light contains all the colours of the rainbow. So a white candle will contain the symbolism or effectiveness of all of the other colours. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, there are many different ways, if you are going to use different colours in your magic, of picking what colour you're going to use. And I'm quite an intuitive witch, and I like to use an intuitive approach to magic. So I will often go around the house and see what I've got and see what feels right to me. And there's nothing wrong with picking a colour to use because it just feels right to you. Now, Beltane is coming up, which is a good time to do love magic. And you might feel that a pink candle would be the perfect thing to do a love spell. Got a pink candle here. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there are other ways of looking at it. Some people might think, oh, no, a red candle would be more effective. Some people might use green. And, well, I'll be going into a little bit more about that later. But traditionally, green is a very traditional colour for love spells. There are all sorts of ways in which a spell might have a certain meaning to you, rather a colour might have a certain meaning to you. It could just be because it's your favourite colour. It could be because you have a dress in that colour and makes you feel particularly lucky. There are all sorts of cultural or other reasons why different colours mean certain things to us. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with using a colour just because it feels right. If it feels right, it will be right. However, there are also a number of different traditions that allocate meanings to certain colours. And one system that many witches use is the Western esoteric magical tradition. Now, that puts certain colours to do with certain days of the week and ascribes them to certain deities and meanings. Now, I will read from my book, if you don't mind, because my memory isn't 100% perfect. And it's going to be easier if I just read a bit from my book. So, it's a Monday. Now, Monday is associated with the moon. The colours that go with that, white again, nice white moon-like candle. But you can use blue. Blue is associated with the moon traditionally in the Western esoteric magic tradition. Or you could use silver. Now, deities associated with the moon, Diana, Artemis, Selene or Luna. So you could call on those deities and they're associated with those colours. Now, the correspondences or the type of magic that would tie in well to those colours in that day of the week. Women's mysteries, illusion, glamour, sleep, peace, beauty, prophecy, dreams, emotion, travel, fertility, insight, and wisdom. Okay, moving on to Tuesday. That's the planet Mars and also the deity Mars or Aries. Colour. Well, red is a good colour for Aries. So you might be thinking red is good for love magic, but it's also good for battle magic. Good for courage, victory, success, strength, conviction, rebellion, defence, wards, protection, anything military. So yeah, if you feel you need a bit of courage today and you want to do a spell for that, a red candle will help you. Wednesday, the planet Mercury. Deities, well, Mercury, Hermes or Woden. Correspondences, communication, the arts, writing, transport, change, luck, gambling, fortune, chance, creativity, making deals, solving crimes, actually technically also committing crimes, but I'm not going to be encouraging that. Work issues needing discussion. And so, yeah, a nice orange candle is really, really good associated with Mercury. Then Thursday, Jupiter. A purple colour is the traditional association for Jupiter. And deities, well, Jupiter, Thor or Juno. Correspondences, abundance, protection, prosperity, strength, wealth, healing, management roles. Friday, right now, that's associated, as most of you probably know already, with Venus, the planet Venus and the deity Venus, also Aphrodite and Freya. Now, the colour associated with Venus traditionally is green. So you can use green for love spells. And traditionally would have been. It's quite interesting that the colour pink, which we often think of being associated with romance, really only became popular quite recently. A few hundred years ago, people would have described green as being associated with love in pictures or in stories or in poems and songs. Lovers would be shown dressed in green, young lovers particularly shown dressed in green. Now, Venus is also the deity associated with gardens and green things growing, and also with the metal copper, which turns green. So there's a lot of reasons why green is really good for love spells. Also, to do with spells for birth, fertility, romance. Well, I mentioned romance, gentleness, pregnancy, friendship, passion, and happiness. So then we move on to Saturday. Now that's associated with the planet Saturn and the deity Saturn, or Hecate as well. Hecate is also associated with Saturday. And black, a black candle or black felt if you're making a puppet. Good for banishing, protection, wisdom, spirituality, cleansing, astral magic, weeding the garden, or gathering crops, honouring or remembering the dead. Now, I'm going to talk a bit more about black because black is also quite a universal colour, as well as white. Both technically can be considered to contain all colours. Black. Now, if you mix all the colours of the rainbow together, if you mix all the different colours together as paint, then theoretically you would get black. Practically, you'll get a kind of a muddy brown grey colour, but technically you would get black by mixing all the colours together. So black can also be considered to contain all the colours. Now, we've missed a day of the week off and a colour, which is yellow. Now, Sunday is associated with the sun and deities, Bridget, Helios, and Apollo. And yellow is a great colour for the sun. You could also use gold. Good for success, fame, wealth, prosperity, promotion, or getting a new job. Now, I tend to think that yellow is another colour that you can use for a lot of different spells, because whatever spell you're doing, you're going to want it to succeed. You're going to want success in that spell. So when in doubt, you can use white, you could use black, or you could use yellow as a general colour, which would be kind of good for pretty much any kind of magic. Now, there are other traditions that give different meanings to different colours. Now, many witches, Wiccans, and other witches from other traditions will cast circles before they're doing a ritual and light different coloured candles to represent the elements. So you might light a candle in the east and call on the element of air. You might light a candle in the south and call on the element of fire. You might light a candle in the west and call on the element of water. You might light a candle in the north and call on the element of earth. And you can use those elemental symbolisms and colours to add to your spell work as well. So if you want fiery passion, you could use the same colour that you would use in the south for fire. If for communication, you could use the colour that you associate with the element of air. For emotion, the colour you associate with water. For earthy grounding, for things associated with the earth, you could use the colour you associate with that. And again, different traditions associate different colours with the elements. Now, for some, yellow is the colour of the east, but for some, blue is the colour of air associated with the east. Some use white or a clear colour. The south, well, red. Some people will put red in the south for fire, or perhaps yellow, or perhaps orange. West. Now I've just dropped my blue candle. Some people use blue. Some people use green as the colour of water. In the north, some people will use green. Some people will use black. Some people will use brown. I actually don't have a brown candle here. So you can use that. Now there are other traditions too, as well as elemental colours and the Western esoteric tradition. Some people will use the colours associated with the different chakras. And again, I'm going to read from my book a bit. Red. Now, red is associated with the root chakra at the base of the spine, and that relates to basic material needs. So if you're doing a spell for basic material needs, you could use red. Orange, associated with the sacral chakra in the lower abdomen, and that relates to physical desires. Yellow, the solar plexus chakra below the chest, relates to power and control. Green is associated with the heart chakra in the middle of the chest, and again that relates to love. Blue, the throat chakra, that relates to communication. Indigo, the brow chakra in the centre of the forehead, that relates to the psychic senses. And violet, the crown chakra on the top of the head, relates to spiritual connections. Now, there are other traditional types of symbolism. Now, a lot of people, if they're doing spells for animals, will, for example, use a brown candle. Some people will use a grey candle for work with the spirits, or if they're doing grey magic. There are many, many different ways that you can pick what colour you use. Now, if you don't have the perfect colour, or you're a little bit undecided about what colour would be the best to use, you can do other things rather than just picking one colour for your central candle, or for your central poppet, or for your central knot if you're doing knot magic. You could, for example, have a different colour candle holder. So if you're doing a love spell, you could have a pink candle and you could put it in a green candle holder. Or you could put flowers around it that have a lot of green leaves and foliage. You could put green crystals around your candle, or whatever colour crystals will go correctly with your spell. You could get felt pens out and you could write or draw or do a picture in the colours that you feel are appropriate, and then you can put your candle either on top of the paper or in front of the paper. A word of warning: don't put a candle in a wobbly candle on top of a piece of paper. It might fall over and set light to the paper and cause a fire. Do be careful. It's always sensible to be careful. I have seen candles catch fire to things. So there are many different ways that you can add colour to your spells to boost the symbolism of what you're doing. But there's no need to be too complicated. It really is always fine to use a white candle or to use whatever colour feels appropriate to you and that you've got available to use. I hope that's been of interest. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my books. That's my book, Pagan Portals Candle Magic. I've also written Pagan Portals Pocket Magic. I edited a community book, and I've also written quite a bit for this, Everyday Magic, which contains something to do every day of the year. So it's like pagan festivals, there's some spells, there's some recipes, there's some things to meditate on, things to do. And it is contributed to by a lot of different Moon Books authors. And Pagan Portals Guided Visualizations, that is available to pre-order at the moment, and it's going to be in the shops in a few months' time. Now, you can get my books, you can order them online from Treadwell's Books, that's Treadwell's Bookshop in London. You can go online and find their online ordering. You can order them from the publisher Moon Books. If you go to their website and look for the Lucya Starza author page, you'll find all my books listed there. Or, of course, you can go to Amazon or Waterstones or other online booksellers and other pagan shops and order my books. Well, thank you very much again for listening, and I hope that's been of use.